Hey folks, Chamia here with the Just Chamia Show with the lovely, super talented, award-winning, world-renowned, beautiful Nina Fabunmi. I'm getting there. Okay, this past weekend, the annual Black Girls Rock Award ceremony was held in New Jersey. And Black Girls Rocks, they celebrate and award Black women or women of different colors and nationalities who are supporting and encouraging and mentoring young Black girls in our community. So I love what they do. First Lady Michelle Obama was there. And one of the things that she shared was, I know there are voices that you are not good enough. Each of these doubts was a test that I either had to shrink from or rise against. I decided to rise. In your experience, and talking to the future Ninas out there, and sharing kind of your journey, and you having the strict parents but very educated, and encouraging you to go to college, and you starting in real estate and then coming back to your passion. What is the importance of deciding what your life will be for young girls? What's the importance of that?
Because when you find your song that you know how the rest of your life is going to be, you know who you're going to marry, and you know how everything is going to evolve around, find your song is like find your path.
Yes.
So you need to decide. I mean, it may be difficult, it may be challenging, but I think that everyone has a unique path to follow. Everyone has like a dream, a goal, a desire, or a talent, or even you may not be able to draw or paint, but you may be the one who can sell art. It could be something that once you find that, it's like freedom.
Yeah.
Then you finally know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, I've been drawing since I was 6.
Right.
And at first I just thought, okay, I can draw this, I can draw that, but then people around me couldn't do it. So that's when I realized that, maybe this is something different about me.
Yeah.
And I was scared to do it because in a society where you have to be a banker, or you have to be an accountant, or you have to work in an oil company, how are you going to make it as an artist?
Right.
I was frightened. I studied real estate because my dad's an architect, and he actually wanted me to study architecture. And I said, I'm not doing physics, and I'm not doing chemistry, and I don't like sciences. I probably would have done well in it, but I just didn't want to go to the science class. And I've been through all these industries like banking and telecom and broadcast and all that, and I've gone around and around, and I still came back to this because this is my passion. This is my song. So I feel like I found my song, and now I'm singing.
I love that.
Yeah. And once you find it, and you have the passion and the discipline to pursue it, it may not be easy at first, but eventually you'll be a happier person. You'll be a freer person, and you will succeed because that is your passion.
See, I think that's beautiful, working in your passion and finding your song. A lot of the young people that I talk to and I encounter, they struggle with this thing of finding motivation from in their circumstance versus using their environment to make excuses as to why not. Oh, I didn't have a mom and a dad. Oh, my cousin got killed. Oh, this, that, or the other. What's your advice to young people who may be growing up in less than beautiful environments, who may have had some hardship in their life? But what's your message to them and overcoming that, or using that as motivation to decide what you want your life to be?
I would say take anger, or take the things that you feel should demotivate you to find motivation. I look at people like Oprah, and I know that she came from abuse, and she probably had all the excuses in the world not to be successful.
Right.
But she's one of the richest women in the world.
Right.
Doing what she loves doing. And there's so many other stories like that. I know that there are those who feel like they have the worst circumstances, and sometimes it's not easy, but when you break out of it and get annoyed by it and get provoked by it and provoked to change it, then it makes the whole difference. My father died last year in June, and growing up, I didn't have the best relationship with him, except when it came to my art, because he was strict and disciplinarian, and I got whacked several times by him. But one of the things I appreciated most about my dad was that he came from a very, very poor background. He grew up in a village. He told me that in high school, he couldn't afford sandals. So when his shoes got too small for him, he went on the roof, he took the ceiling sheet and took it down and cut out, like he took off the straps of the sandal, and then he cut out a new sole. And then he stitched it. And that was how he was able to wear his sandals again. And he was like, everywhere he went, his feet would go, like, it was just noisy. And that was my dad went through so much. But he became very successful as an architect. And he had 2 PhDs. And he's like built monuments. And he worked for a company called James Corbett & Partners here in London. And this is a man who raised me. He could have been stuck somewhere in a village, just carrying buckets on his head, but he just went through so much. And then he became the success that he was before he passed on. And I believe that circumstances, do you know Oluchi? Oluchi Olandi. She was the first face of Africa. Beautiful girl. She came from Ayilara, which is like a slum in Lagos. Horrible, dirty, like filthy. She's beautiful. She went for Face of Africa and she won. And today she's like the face of Gap. So you need to present yourself for that opportunity to come. Don't be deterred by your situation. I mean, sometimes you're allowed to, go through that.
Go through your feelings.
Go through all that.
Let
it out, but don't let it keep you from soaring.
Amazing. Let's talk about your art. Your beautiful art, which we're surrounded by my men. So again, I mentioned earlier that Nina, in addition to singing, which we learned today, she draws, she paints, she's done book illustrations, won numerous awards. Your work showing in galleries from here in San Francisco Bay Area to Nigeria, just beautiful. Where'd you begin? So you mentioned that you started drawing at 6 years old, but where did you learn to do this? How did you learn to do this? How did you get to do this? You talked about also your journey in these different industries. How did you get to this?
Okay, so when I came to the US, I felt like, I'm from Africa and I'm unique and my work's gonna stand out because I'm African and I'm influenced by it. And I don't meet a lot of people who are straight up African. I mean, I meet African Americans, but I was born and bred in Lagos. So I went to the Academy of Art University, which is one of the best art schools in the world, I'm telling you. And I met famous artists, like people who have been there, done that, soared. Like I see work that I probably only see in an encyclopedia, and I'm seeing it right in front of me. It made me very appreciative of where I was and what I had to learn from them. So I learned technical skills from them. And there was a time when my paintings used to be really tight, like super realistic, and I just wanted it to look exactly like the image of the photo that I was painting, because that was me trying to be more technical. Now, in coming to all of this, I needed to get to a place where I could show my uniqueness, my culture, and my own artistic voice. So at the time when I was doing my midpoint review is where you get to and they see, what have you done all these years? And where do you want to go? Like, what's your thesis going to look like? I was so confused, which brings us to the flowers.
Yes.
So,
and that collection is entitled
The Secret Language of Love.
The Secret Language of Love, and it's beautiful. And I saw it and I was like, wait a minute, there's a story here. Okay.
So I didn't know what to do for my thesis, and I was like, so one of my instructors asked me, what do you want from your work? And I said, I want it to be colorful, I want it to be expressive, I want to show emotion. I just brought out all these attributes. And then I thought about what I was going through at that time, because I'm divorced now, I'm a single mom, I have 2 beautiful boys, and I had just been through a lot of emotional turmoil. And I wanted to call my thesis project, petals for my tears,
Mm.
because I wrote this poem. I write poetry too. Titled Petals, Petals for My Tears.
I read you stop, making me look bad over here.
It's like an outlet. I just need to let it out.
Yeah.
And the poem was basically about me crying. I said I've cried, and my tears have nourished the ground, and now the flowers are growing out of it. So the tears have nourished the soil and brought out these beautiful flowers.
Wow.
So this is the gain from my pain. And so I titled my thesis Petals for My Tears, and I said I was going to paint the emotional transitions of a woman. That she was going to be, sad, and then come to recovery, and it would be from sorrow to happiness and all that. And I had this picture of what I wanted my project to look like. But then when I presented it to one of my instructors, whom I have a lot of respect and regard for, and I really appreciate the time and patience they take with each and every one of us to help us find our direction. And she was like, okay, but why make it so obvious, Like, are you going to paint someone with a hand on the head, and then like, how are you going to present this? Why make it so obvious?
Right.
What if you could code it, make it not as obvious? And then, I already titled it Petals for My Tears. So of course, I finally landed in the flowers.
Yeah.
So I found myself painting flowers. They were colorful, and they did send the message. And I discovered so much about flowers.
Yeah.
Like in the Elizabethan period, back in the day, with the classical period, flowers were used to send messages. There's something called the language of flowers. It's actually in Wikipedia, and it's on the internet, and there are books about it. So, like, if somebody sent you like a whole bouquet of black roses, and one of them was snipped off, that would be like bad luck and death.
Right.
And like the bonfire pansies are flowers that a woman would walk into a garden and pick up a pansy, and she would play around with it in her hands in order to know the thoughts of her lover. Or like a yellow rose is like new birth. And of course the tulips are love flowers. Like tulip represents perfection. So, there's just so much you could do with flowers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. So I'm like, I could be sending out all these emotional messages, but I could do it with flowers. But then I got bored. Like, I painted flowers and flowers and flowers and flowers. I always put them under the light and turn them this way and turn them that way, and change the arrangement and all of that. And I was like, okay, I need a smile. I need a facial expression. I needed something else. And that was how I created a whole body of that. The secret language of love.
Yeah, the collection, I've seen it. I love it. And I knew that there was something more, because it's not just like flowers in a vase. It doesn't look like that at all. It's
every
deep.
flower
Yeah.
has a like.
Yeah.
I went to Sausalito to do plein air painting, and I discovered this flower called agapanthus.
Okay.
And agapanthus is a flower that it came from Madagascar, and it's now it's in the U.S. now. But that's where it originated from, and it represents secret love. And I was like, wow. And that just me knowing that much, I would see the flower. My teacher was like, the one that told me, oh, this is an agapanthus. And I just went on the internet and found out that, oh, that's what it means. That made me want to paint it the more. This is a message that this flower would send out, like secret love. So
Wow.
I enjoyed doing it, but eventually I just needed a face.
Yeah.
Like a look, and I needed people. I'm a people person.
And is that how this collection evolved?
So, in Africa, there's dressing. I used to tell people, we have so many problems in Africa, but the one thing you cannot take away from us is our culture. Our culture is beautiful.
And strong.
Like, you need to go to a wedding in Nigeria. Oh my God. It is one of the things I miss most.
Yes. Let me know when we're going.
Oh, I would wear my gele and my ashoke, and it would just be colorful. Like, you could just wear orange from top to bottom, and everything is and then you have the bride side and the groom side. This side is wearing blue, side wearing orange. It's just beautiful and colorful.
Right.
And then our hair and our adornment and all these beautiful. I said, I want to show it. I don't know how to do it with the flowers. I really needed to show it. And I'm a Nigerian living in the U.S. people get curious about me too. Like, I'm a docent at the Museum of the African Diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me, what is Africa really like?
Mm-hmm.
And so like they want to see Africa through my eyes. So I feel like it is my duty now to use my art to show people
Mm-hmm.
that this is the culture and this is what we look like and this is the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started painting people. And I have a friend called Chloe.
Mm-hmm.
Chloe is an African American, one of my best friends ever. But she's never been to Africa before. And I told her, you know what, I'm going to make you an African queen. Watch and see what I do. So I took a picture of Chloe, and Chloe just has this regular scarf around her neck. And Chloe, I dressed her up as an Ndebele South African person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling her that this is probably what you would have been if you had been in Africa. You
Mm-hmm.
never know what you're going to be, you know, what
Right.
your culture would have been. So I'm trying to use my art to help people experience culture.
Right.
Like this piece right here.
Which is coming home with me. Tribal Council.
Tribal Council.
Uh-huh.
So all of humanity originally came from Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
And like the oldest evidence of human existence was Dinkinesh. Dinkinesh also means it means amazing in Amharic. So
Mhm.
Ethiopia is like the cradle of human existence.
Mhm.
This guy, he was sitting right across me, and I was just like trying to figure him out.
Mhm.
So I decided to place him in a culture
Now, where was this, by the way?
in the Academy of Art. So he's
So
a
right
live,
here.
live
Uh-huh.
model.
Mhm.
Live model and painting in the studio at the Academy of Art. And I just wanted, I didn't want to just paint him just the way he was, because I wanted to place him in a culture. So I put him in the Mercy tribe in Ethiopia.
Mhm.
And that's why he looks like this. So
Mhm.
he came around and looked at my piece and I was like, oh my God. And he said, I like it. And eventually I discovered that he was Nigerian, but he was born here. His
Mhm.
parents are Nigerian, but he's never been before. And I was like, well, if you were in a village in Africa somewhere, that could have been you.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think it's fun. Like, I think that if you're an artist and you just paint a picture, I just paint it. I can take a picture.
Mhm.
So that, I feel like with art, you need to take it another step further. That what makes this a painting? That what I don't want to just paint a picture and say, okay, I painted a picture and I prove to the whole world that I can paint like this. I want to add something extra to it. So I want to use my art to teach about culture. And like even on this painting that just looks like a regular painting, I titled this piece Braveheart because I tried to capture the heart of a man based on his stern look and his look of determination. And all of this around it, you see all these inscriptions. People ask me about these inscriptions, and I tell them that I come from a country where we have almost or over 300 languages. Like my state alone, Delta states, we have like 36 languages.
Wow.
Like you're moving from state to state, and there's different languages. So we have tribal marks. So people are marked differently. Like Obomasho tribal marks are like 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So I always know an Obomasho man when I see him.
Right.
If he has tribal marks. So I say we have tribal marks that are used to differentiate people, and I wanted to show like all these languages and cultures all coming together, and that's why I have all these markings and scratches, because they represent the tribal marks from the people in Nigeria. So I could do like even a regular landscape, and you still see the markings there, because I want to project my culture on
And anything that you do. And that's a good point too, is that there's such range with your work, from the flowers to the portraits to the news to the cityscapes. You've done, just an amazing range of work. What's your favorite to do?
My favorite, that is hard. But I would
Of all your children, who do you love the most?
I love portraits. I love portraits. I think that one thing that people have told me about my portraits is that it's almost like I can see within the person. So like I capture people in a way that goes beyond what I see. Like there's some people that I just can't paint. I've noticed that. But there's some people I'm always really inspired. Like if a model sits in front of me and I would just be looking at him like this piece right here is titled Engineering. The reason why it's titled Engineering is because this guy is from Nigeria. And he studied engineering in the US. Yellow is a color of prosperity, like the sunshine. If it's bright and it's colorful, and I felt like, okay, here you are in the US trying to study engineering, your life will be bright and colorful. And that was why I painted.
Oh, I love that.
So I try to include color psychology in it as well. So I want to take the portrait beyond what it looks like because I want to interpret it the way I see it. So you're in front of me right now and I can tell that you're such a beautiful person. And I would probably add like pink to your background and put all these little highlights around you just to try to show your character in it. And I think that it's fun to be able to interpret people just using color.
I look forward to posing for Nina. Okay, well that's to come. So let's talk about just art and art appreciation overall. I can think of countless people that I've encountered who feel like, well, I don't understand art. Where do I start? Oh, I'm not one of those people who go to a gallery. You know, I'd rather go to the flea market and look at art. So what is the proper setting to view art? Is there one? That's the first question. And then who is art for?
Okay. First of all, if you are a person and you have features, then you are a work of art already. And God is the greatest artist of all. So He sculpted us perfectly and made us the way we are. You are art. People look at you and they appreciate you. They see the beauty of your hair or your earrings, and you're already a work in art. So art is for everyone. There's no place you go that there's no art. Even the building you live in, the cups you drink, the plates, every art, regardless of whether you notice it, everything is art. I mean, everything is influenced by art or made of art or artistic in its own way. Even the design of your flat screen TV, that's art. Somebody had to sit down and design that. So art is for everyone.
And it's in everything.
It's in everything. And the question of the proper way to view art, ideally, art should be viewed in a way that zones you into that piece. So, like the gallery setting, sometimes it's nice and it's quiet and the walls are white because the art should pop. And like we have a cluster of paintings here because we wanted all these pieces behind us. But ideally,
and I'm imagining them in my house as I sit here. I'm like, they're mine for the moment.
Yes, ideally we should have a little more space in between these so that it's just you and that piece. And you're looking at it and it is doing something to you. There's something called art therapy. People who have art actually live longer. I mean, studies have shown that art has a way of easing stress and just releasing you from you could just take away the world. Forget your worries, your sorrows, just you and that piece and whatever it does to you. It's amazing.
Wow. So a lot of times when people think about wanting to collect art, they think, oh, I can't afford it, or oh, again, it's for those other people, not for me. I'll just stick with the picture of my mom or whatever I can pick up at Target, which is fine, you know, not judging that. But who can collect art? And is your art affordable? Is there something for everyone?
That's a really good question, actually. So, I'm gonna go back to my banking experience where I did credit policy guidelines.
Okay.
And one of the most important things I learned about giving credit is the ability to pay is not as important as the willingness to pay. So some people have the ability, but they don't have the willingness. There's some people who have all the money in the world and won't buy art, and some people have nothing, but they know they want that piece. I met a man called Melvin Holmes. God rest his soul. He's one of the biggest art collectors that I've met at the Museum of the African Diaspora, and his collection was being exhibited. And so he told us about how he started collecting art, and he had this Elizabeth Catlett. He had this piece called The Cat. And he had, I don't remember if The Cat was by Elizabeth Catlett, but he also had another piece called Contando, which was by Elizabeth Catlett. And so he spoke about The Cat because that was the first piece he ever collected. And when he bought it, he couldn't afford it. He just knew he had to have it. So he paid in installments because he wanted that piece. And he had so many other pieces like that, that he knows he wants the art. When he finds the art, he would just pay what he can. I've met people who have bought my work, like this lovely girl called Joy. I met her at the Museum of the African Diaspora, and I got attracted to her head wrap because she had this really nice head wrap, and it was made of Ankara material, which comes from Nigeria. And this is a girl who's African American, never been to Nigeria, and she's trying to get in touch with her culture. And so I was like, can I take a picture of you? And she allowed me. and I made a painting of her, and it was actually one of my best pieces ever.
Wow.
So many people tried to buy that piece. One thing or the other was always coming in between them buying that piece. And Joy is a school teacher. She lives in Oakland, and she's like, well, I really want to buy it, but I can't afford it. Do you know Joy paid me, like, she started with $300, like every month she'd be paying like $200, and some months she'd be like, I don't have money this month, and then she would pay like the next month. Probably took her a couple of months, but she bought that piece, and that was her first art,
that
she ever bought. That she just knew that she had to have it. So, like, art is for everyone, and those who really want to buy it, you don't need to have money to buy it. And most artists, like, there's a price for every pocket. Like, if you don't have all the money in the world, you can still buy art on what you have.
Right.
You just don't pay like for it like that, and you don't have to buy the biggest. You can buy a smaller piece. Like,
or so save for what you really want.
Or save, So it's about the willingness to have it, not the ability to.
I love that, the willingness to pay versus the ability to pay. So we're sitting here in the Joyce Gordon Gallery in Oakland, which is a very respectable, renowned gallery. How did you meet Miss Joyce? How did you get here?
Miss Joyce is a wonderful person. She calls me her daughter. So that's my American mother now.
All right.
So I have a teacher, I had an instructor at the Academy of Art. His name is Brandon Smith. And I showed Brandon some of my work, and Brandon is like, do you know the Joyce Gordon Gallery? And I said, no. He lives in Oakland, and he said, I think it's going to be a perfect fit for your work, because I was doing work that had, Africa in it. And like a lot of galleries in San Francisco, the only gallery in San Francisco I knew that showed African work shut down. It was in Gary, and I think it moved to Oakland.
And that's pretty amazing too, just to pause on that point, because there are so many galleries in San Francisco. So that's actually very surprising to hear. Surprising and not surprising to hear.
So they specialize, like, galleries have a certain kind of work that they want. Like some galleries like abstract, some like really tight realistic work, like the John Penn's gallery, and some don't really do figures, like they like landscapes and cityscapes, and so you have to meet their requirements to do that. And I needed an outlet, somewhere I could express myself and still show my culture. And I can do whatever. I can paint landscapes and portraits, but I still feel the need to paint something that takes me back to home, because that's where I'm from, and that's who I am, and that's why I am the way I am. So I walk into this gallery, and it's a beautiful space, lovely walls, and I met Miss Joyce, and she was so welcoming. So she looked at my portfolio, and she liked the work, but she was like, oh, well, you need collectors, and you need the cohesive body of work and all that. And okay, so at least I was like, at least she knows me now, and she knows my work. So one night when she had an opening here, I met JC. JC does framing downstairs, and JC was giving out free frames, and he said, if you have a picture, I give you a frame. And I didn't have any pictures, so I said, okay, well, how about I make some? Can you have paper? He gave me paper and a pen, and I started drawing. So I started making these little pieces, and it was like, women with pots on their heads, a baby at the back, and these little African pieces. And JC, I made like 8 of them that night, and JC framed everything for me, and I gave one to Miss Joyce.
Wow.
And she was like, oh, and she was like, she thought I was trying to submit work to her. I was like, no, it's the kids. And after that time, like, she really had me in her radar. And later on, I produced a body of work that had to do with mixed media and trying to use nature to represent nature. And I was making work out of like pine needles and stuff, just putting it together, mixed media. And it kind of worked well with Barbara Aliza's work. And so we got to show together. So we had like a 2-in-1 solo show here.
And that was your first gallery show here?
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. The work is amazing, and I can't pan the camera around right now because I don't have that studio ability, but one day I will. Oprah, holler at me. But, this gallery right now is filled with a range of Nina's work. So the landscape, cityscapes, the nudes, the portraits, it's amazing. So you got to come down to the Joyce Gordon Gallery and check her out. But where can people find your work, or where can people find you if they want to see more, or even better, purchase some art?
I have a website. I call my website my office, because everything is on it. I have my mailing list, I have my gallery and everything on it. It's ninafabunmi.com. And I also show in Gallery Bouchard in Chicago.
Mhm.
It's in Bronzeville, one of the best art districts in Chicago.
Art districts and great shopping. I love it.
And I also show in Studio Gallery in Pacific Heights in
Okay.
San Francisco. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice gallery, lovely people, lovely work. Yeah.
Wonderful. So you can check out the website, any of those 3 galleries that she mentioned, and you also mentioned you're the docent at the Moab Museum.
Yeah.
Busy girl, singing, writing poetry. Now I didn't learn painting, drawing. Single mom of 2 boys. A superwoman, Nina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's
for
been
having
such a
me.
blessing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, stay tuned, folks.